What's good, YouTube? We back with another one. JBX tuned into me and tune. We got the second Flash trailer. It's gonna be a breakdown by Emergency Awesome, if y'all know who that is. He's gonna break down basically the Easter eggs and stuff like that. But this is like the second trailer of the Flash movie. Let's tune in.
Tell me something.
Seen a little bit.
You can go anywhere.
But
another timeline.
Actually, nah, I think I did see the whole thing.
Another universe.
But reacting with y'all.
So why do you want to stay and fight to save this one?
Man, we gotta get my son to be the Flash, because we don't want him to be the Flash. Come on, y'all. Team Grant Gustin, like this video. If you Team Grant Gustin, like this video, man.
Where my mom lives, I'm not gonna lose her again. Time has a pattern that it can't help reliving. Different people, different worlds, drawn to each other like magnets. It's my face. You stole my face.
If you were to go into the past, you have no idea what the consequences can be.
I could fix things.
You could also destroy everything.
This can't be happening. I completely broke the universe.
Zod, we've been waiting for you.
I created a world with no metahumans. And now there's no one to defend us.
Want some help?
If I can't undo what I did,
I don't understand how much I've been waiting for the Flash movie to come out. Like, I don't think I really understand. Like, it was supposed to drop mad long.
if I can't get back, there might not be.
Oh,
If I can't get back, there might not be a future. What's the play? Batman, what do we do?
We try not to die.
that us.
It's not Clark.
My name is Kara.
I'm Barry. We're Barry.
Just a gown.
Barry, what are you doing? Our kids are gonna want to see this.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. They just dropped a new Flash trailer. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. Of course, I will do videos for all the Super Bowl trailers that are dropping. There'll be a bunch of big Marvel trailers too, and some other surprises. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. But in the new trailer, they just confirmed some of the twists that we saw in the previous teaser trailer. Michael Shannon, Zod, and Faora are going to be some of the big villains, not the only villains. There is a big twist with the dark version of the Flash I talked about earlier. I'll explain that in a second. But Barry's talking to Ben Affleck's Batman about changing the past because he can't get over his mother's death. That's right out of the comic book version of Flashpoint. So he does wind up doing that. But it seems like he accidentally travels to Michael Keaton Batman's Earth and winds up meeting another version of himself who hasn't become the Flash yet. Because during the trailer, they have a version of the Flash's origin for this other version of Barry, but he has blue lightning instead, mostly just to differentiate them on screen so that people that don't read the Flash comics can tell them apart. And it seems like the main version of the Flash is the person that tries to recreate that origin story. Like, here, let's give you powers. This is how I got powers the first time. Let's try that again. They also confirmed that Sasha Calle's Supergirl is a big part of the movie. If you didn't hear it at the end, too, if you listen really carefully, they play some of the theme song from Christopher Reeve's Superman when she's flying by. So they use some of that classic theme music from John Williams, too. They did the same thing when Henry Cavill's Superman came back for the cameo scene at the end of the Black Adam movie, too. More Christopher Reeve Superman stuff. Obviously, Michael Keaton's Batman, a big part of the movie, as well as Ben Affleck's Batman. There have been rumors about a cameo scene from another Batman in a post-credit scene, like a new post-credit scene after the big James Gunn reboot to sort of set up the reboot where the Flash winds up on some other Batman's Earth. We'll see if that winds up panning out. But generally, according to James Gunn, the movie is intended to soft reboot the entire DCEU into his new DCU for the new 10-year plan of movies. Like, these are all the movies and TV shows that are coming, and they want to set up the idea that some of the actors will be different, but some of them will be the same, and that'll all be because of what happens in Flashpoint. But just starting at the beginning of the trailer, working our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs, WTF moments. At the beginning of the trailer, we get some new shots of the Flash looking at his childhood home. It seems like he's already traveled back in time, and he's watching the younger version of himself the night that his mother died. Because we see the little Barry running out crying. We saw a version of this on the Flash TV show in the first episode. A lot of what happens during the movie will seem familiar because they use a lot of the twists on the Flash TV show in the first 3 years. This is a shot of him on top of Wayne Manor. He's already gone to Michael Keaton Batman's Earth. When we get the voiceover from Michael Keaton's Batman when he talks about going to other timelines, that's them talking about him going to Michael Keaton Batman's Earth. Some of these are old shots of Michael Keaton Batman's bat suit, his cowl. Brand new shot of Ben Affleck's Batman in Gotham City taking down some criminals. It seems like it's part of an extended action scene that the Flash winds up helping out with early in the movie. He has his new suit during this team-up moment between the Flash and Batman, and I believe the idea in the prequel comic that they released for this is that Ben Affleck's Batman gives him the Flash ring, like he designs the Flash ring in the Flash suit that comes out of Batman, and I believe the idea in the prequel comic that they released for this is that Ben Affleck's Batman gives him the Flash ring, like he designs the Flash ring in the Flash suit that comes out of it and gives it to the Flash, and that's how he got this. This explosion is just in the underground bunker where the military has been keeping Supergirl captive, and it seems like it's happening on Michael Keaton Batman's Earth just because all the scenes have Michael Keaton Batman in them. This is her taking off in flight after she escapes. This is the Flash traveling through the Speed Force back in time and accidentally winding up on Michael Keaton Batman's Earth. It's always interesting to see the different ways the movies and the TV shows, like the Flash TV show, visualize the way that he runs through the Speed Force, the way they visualize his lightning. Part of the idea when he's traveling through multiple timelines, the multiverse here, is that you're meant to get flashes of other versions of the characters. In the concept art, they had pretty much all the big actors from the classic DC movies and some of the modern ones too, like Christian Bale's Batman with Christopher Reeve's Superman, pretty much everybody from every DC movie and TV show. So if Grant Gustin gets a cameo in this movie, best chances are it's in a scene like that when he's crossing across the multiverse. Hopefully John Wesley Shipp also has a cameo like that too, unless he's playing some actual new character on one of these alternate. Hopefully John Wesley Shipp also has a cameo like that too, unless he's playing some actual new character on one of these alternate Earths, which would also make sense. This is the main version of Flash talking to Michael Keaton's Batman about his powers and why he's doing what he's doing. Like, if you're essentially a god and you can go anywhere in time and space in any timeline, why are you so obsessed with this particular one? And it's because he can't get past the death of his mother yet, but that's the whole lesson of Flashpoint, like the lesson of the movie. He has to completely foobar a couple different worlds before he finds out that it's a bad idea to use his powers that way. We finally see the young version of Barry with his mother and his father. They had to recast his father because Billy Crudup, who played his father in the Zack Snyder DCEU movies, like the Justice League movie, had a scheduling conflict. The Easter egg there, too, is that he also played Dr. Manhattan, who's another DC character now. Some of this looks like a combination of the Flash traveling through time, like he's another DC scheduling conflict. The Easter egg there, too, is that he also played Dr. Manhattan, who's another DC character now. Some of this looks like a combination of the Flash traveling through time, like he's on his home street from his childhood, traveling through the Speed Force, but then this other bridge shot seems like he's just traveling across the country in a normal adventure. Now, if you couldn't tell from the picture, this is actually meant to be Michael Keaton Batman looking at a picture of his parents who also died, and they're meant to bond over that, like, we lost both of our parents.
Easter egg.
I'm assuming the reason why his hand is all dirty is just because of some adventure they've had, but you can see how decrepit and run down Wayne Manor is. There's cobwebs, dust all over the shelves, so it seems like when the Flash shows up to meet him, he's been relatively inactive. This just seems like a picture of him in his childhood bedroom. It could be happening on the other Earth or after he started to change the timeline. When he talks about this shared trauma and people being drawn together like magnets, that's also a metaphor for both the other version of the Flash on this other Earth, this other Barry Allen, but also to Michael Keaton's Batman because he also lost his parents. Now here's the thing when he meets the other version of himself on Michael Keaton Batman's Earth. The way they're referring to this other Barry Allen is that they're calling him a younger version of the character who hasn't got his powers yet, and he winds up being Kid Flash of the movie. Like, they refer to him as the Kid Flash for a little while until the older future version of him from an alternate timeline shows up and is like the evil Dark Flash. Ben Affleck's Batman gives him the Flash ring with the new Flash suit inside it, just like the comic book version. Tells him the worst thing he could possibly do is travel back into the past and try to mess with things. They show him traveling into the past, and the events of the Man of Steel movie are playing out again, and it's not clear if he's on Michael Keaton Batman's Earth or if this is also happening on the Justice League Earth. Because on the Flash TV show, for instance, Barry does a version of Flashpoint. He goes back, saves his mother, completely messes everything up in the future, but then he tries to do it again another time, and it messes things up again a little bit differently. So maybe something like that will happen in the movie where Barry messes things up on the main Justice League Earth and the Kryptonians come and it starts to destroy everything and he goes back into the Speed Force to try and fix everything, and that's when he accidentally travels to Michael Keaton Batman's Earth. This is a shot of the other Barry who hasn't got his powers yet or is about to get his powers. You can tell them apart based on the clothing that they wear and their haircut. The other younger Barry has long hair. The events of the Man of Steel movie play out again on his Earth, and it seems like they have to team up to try and stop him. But it's a little while later in the movie because when you see them fighting the Kryptonians, he has his version of a homemade Flash suit made out of one of Michael Keaton Batman's old bat suits. Here's the thing though, I think the idea is that on Michael Keaton Batman's Earth, there is no Superman to protect them from Zod, so Zod winds up just laying waste to the Earth because Supergirl hasn't broken out yet, so they cause way more damage than happened in the Man of Steel movie. When he says, I created a world with no metahumans, he's inside Supergirl's underground.
So that means, since Superman wasn't in there, or not around yet, and since in the other universe it's Supergirl, and Kara is just not even broken out of the facility she's being held in. So they just fuck up the whole shit up.
Bunker where she's being held captive.
God damn.
But what he probably means is that he prevented superheroes from rising on the Justice League Earth. Typically when all the producers, the filmmakers like Zack Snyder, the other people talk about that, they talk about Superman arriving on Earth and then letting the world know about him and them getting access to the Kryptonian ship. Like that was meant to be the beginning of that. And it sounds like whatever he did changed those events so that didn't wind up happening. All these scenes of them busting Supergirl out of her prison are right out of the comic book version of Flashpoint. We see a much bigger shot of Michael Keaton's Batcave. It looks amazing. Obviously, they have modern special effects now to pull it off. This is a much more complete version of a scene we've seen before, like the Batwing is in front of him, and we finally see his face, and they do the actual line, "I'm Batman." When he shows up in his suit for the first time, they play a little bit of the Batman theme song by Danny Elfman. Notice how all the equipment around him, too, looks kind of old-timey because he's meant to be a 60-something version of Batman, and all this was created back when he was in his 20s, when they still had that level of technology back in the 80s. We get an extended action scene where it still seems like a total badass. The version of the bat suit that he has on seems like just an upgraded version of his classic suit. Like, it seems very close to the classic suit, but he's had 30-plus years to upgrade it over time. It really seems like with some of these takedowns, they're trying to add some of the dynamism and comic booky nature of Ben Affleck Batman in the way Zack Snyder portrayed the character, like that really cool Batman v Superman scene of him taking all the criminals down, but also use all the enhanced technology that they have access to now to do that for Michael Keaton Batman. This is just more footage from that extended Ben Affleck Batman scene early in the movie where the Flash is helping him out. This seems like a version of Supergirl in her Supergirl suit, taking one of the Barry Allens up into the atmosphere. This scene of the Earth cracking all around him just seems like when the Kryptonians are attacking this other Earth and everything just starts to break, the same way that they were doing in the Man of Steel movie. This extended action scene of the both of them fighting together seems really cool, and I think is meant to set up the end of the movie, because like I said, this other Barry Allen is meant to be Kid Flash for a lot of the movie, but then like an alternate future version of him is supposed to show up and be an evil dark version of Flash. Like a salvage, then like because like I said, this other Barry Allen is meant to be Kid Flash for a lot of the movie, but then like an alternate future version of him is supposed to show up and be an evil dark version of Flash. Like a Savitar twist on the Flash movie. Like I said, they've already pulled a lot of the twists that we'll see in the movie on the Flash TV show in the first 3 seasons. Like, oh, this seems like the time that the alternate future Barry came back into the past and tried to conquer everyone and take over the world. The main Barry Allen is in this other Barry Allen's room talking about how he needs to go back to his Earth, like he's already traveled to the other Earth. There might not be a future in that Earth if I don't go back and fix things. So it does sound like he winds up pulling an early version of Flashpoint, kind of like the Flash TV show, and then tries to change it again a second time. Here it actually seems like they used the Batwing to try and create the lightning strike that gave Barry powers to give this other Barry Allen his powers. Like you see the blue lightning traveling down this arc from the Batwing and then charging the other Barry Allen with powers. We get a couple extended action scenes of them fighting the Kryptonians. One of the big differences with this Kryptonian fight is that they seem way more sure of themselves, way better fighters than Henry Cavill Superman was when he fought the Kryptonians the first time. Like, he wasn't a very experienced fighter, so he soaked a bunch of damage. This time, a lot of the heroes that are fighting him, like the Flash, for instance, has been through a lot of adventures, so he's a lot more sure of his powers. He knows how to use them a little bit better. Also, it seems like they're playing this alternate Supergirl from this other continuity from the Michael Keaton Batman Earth is a slightly more stabby version of the character, kind of the way they did in the Flashpoint movie. Like that version of Superman was just a little edgier because he'd been trapped for all those years underground. Anytime you see the Flash with blue lightning on screen, that's the other Barry Allen, remember? Then they end the trailer with a funny scene of them busting Supergirl out of her prison and her just going ham on all the guards. What do we do, Batman? Just try not to die. Just stay out of her way. It sounds like what happens is that he travels to the other Michael Keaton Batman Earth, meets the other version of himself, and then they go try and find Batman. Then trying to fix things on his Earth, he starts asking him about Superman arriving on Earth in his pod, and Michael Keaton Batman is probably like, we don't know what you're talking about, there is no version of Superman, but there was something from outer space that the military is keeping, let's go try and find out what it was. And when they show up, it's not Clark Kent Superman that they find, it's Supergirl. And this tag scene of her in Wayne Manor at the end is her speaking for the first time. We haven't heard any dialogue from her before. And they have that funny scene of them in the Batwing with the other Barry trying to take a picture of her flying next to them. Obviously, there is so much stuff going on in this movie. James Gunn called it one of the finest superhero movies that he's ever seen in the history of ever. So I don't know what's going on, but it makes it sound like this movie is so amazing, it's going to blow everyone's dicks off. If you spotted any other Easter eggs or references that I didn't talk about in the
I've been trying to tell you, Flash movie's gonna be
video,
good.
just write them below in the comments. We'll get more footage for this soon. All my other Super Bowl trailers will post in the next couple of days too. I believe there's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy 3, probably some Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania,
Like who went on to
maybe
see
a couple other
character?
surprises. My Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania review is also going to post on Tuesday, so look out for that. Everyone click here for all my other Super Bowl trailer videos. I'll update the links as soon as I post those. And click here for that big DC Studios trailer that James Gunn released for the reboot, explaining all...
Nah, though. Let me know what y'all think, though. I'm excited to see that for sure. I'm excited. Let me know what y'all think of that. Y'all excited to see that? Let me know in the comment section below. I want you to like, comment, subscribe, and see you on the next one.